Welcome back. We are Coach Talk, and I am here with LJ. Hi, LJ.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, everybody. It's amazing to be here with you again.
I know. You know what? I love releasing podcasts when we can, and we do it pretty much every week. And for me, it's sort of the highlight to my week when we can do it, and then it comes out on a Monday, and I think, this is fantastic. Here comes another one.
Do you know what I love about our sessions is we have always had these amazing conversations, and like this is us organically having a coffee conversation, and now we're just recording them and helping other people join in our conversation. So we hope that the things that we talk about inspire you to get curious in your space.
Yeah. You said to me a little while ago, and it sticks with me and it resonates with me. You said, we just have a conversation, and the only difference now is we let other people listen to what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Because we have the best conversations. Anyway, I digress. How are you, my friend?
I am very, very well. I'm pumped and I'm ready I've got a surprise for you today.
Oh, it is nearly Christmas time. Yay.
It is. So I was looking at some stuff and I was just going through social media and doing some things last night, and something come across my bowels, and I thought, I am going to make a podcast out of this. And I thought, should I tell LJ what it's about? Yes or no? I had the angel on one shoulder going, yes, tell LJ. You must tell LJ. And I had the devil on the other shoulder going, you tell LJ and I'll cut your head off. So,
So who won?
the devil.
Ah, all good, all good.
So, like always, we are pretty much raw and unscripted. I'm just going to spring this on you, but I know your wealth of knowledge, and I know you know so many things in this space that you're just going to jump at this and just give it your all, because I know what you do. So this is not going to phase you at all. Are you ready to go and deep dive?
Yeah, let's make like Britney Spears and hit me one more time.
Yeah, I like it. This one is probably going to be a little bit deeper than normal, so the podcast may go a little bit longer, but it all ties in nicely. If I can get it right, it ties in nicely with what we've been talking about in a lot of our other podcasts, and I like to loop back and revisit, then move on to something new and loop back and revisit, because it helps people getting used to just changing their mindset and getting things done.
Yeah.
So what I saw yesterday was a small snippet of, there's all these different laws that people talk about or people know about, and some of these laws people don't know about. So, for example, a lot of people, and most people, know about Murphy's Law, for example.
Oh, you gotta love Murphy's Law.
Gotta love Murphy's Law. So I thought, you know what, how many other laws are there? And I found 4 others. So we're going to dive into 5 different laws today. And
You went down a rabbit hole, didn't you?
I did. And you know what? I went down this rabbit hole head first, and I couldn't get back out.
Welcome to the world of research and fun and adventure and learning.
I couldn't turn around and get back out. So the rabbit hole, yes, I did. And here we are.
Hit me with it.
Okay.
What have you got for me today? I'm really excited. I love it when you dive these topics in with me.
So the whole crux of this is, I just want people to, and the great thing about podcast is you can rewind and you can go back to parts that really resonate with you and parts that you like, and apply that immediately and apply it into something that you are currently doing, or apply it to something you want to do. That's the great thing about our podcast, how we can do that. So I want to tie 5 of these laws into our mindset and coaching side of life, and extract what makes sense and put it into getting people to use parts and pieces of what I want to go through and get them to take action and get them to move forwards from where they are. So that's what I'm hoping to achieve in this podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it.
Lovely. So the first one, Murphy's Law. Now, so many people have heard about Murphy's Law, and Murphy's Law was named after an American aerospace engineer called Edward Murphy. And he made this comment during, there was a bit of a mishap with a rocket sled test between 1948 and 1949, the late 40s. And his original quote when he was doing all this testing was, if there are 2 or more ways to do something and one of those results in a catastrophe, then someone will do it that way. That was his original exact quote. And it's been sort of changed around and flipped a bit, and now people know Murphy's Law as anything that can go wrong will go wrong, which is pretty much what people say, which is similar to what he said in his original spiel. His law, Murphy's Law, became widely popular from probably the 70s onwards. And one of the adaptations of Murphy's Law from today is where I want to focus on is the more you fear something, the more likely it is to occur.
Gets right back to, I love this. This is juicy.
Yeah.
Dave, this is a great gift. It gets back to attention goes, energy flows where attention goes.
Yeah.
I always get that mixed up. So the more we expect things to go wrong, that's exactly what we're going to get.
Yeah.
Because your attention is not on the success of it, the attention is on the failure of it.
Yeah.
So of course you're not giving yourself the best opportunity for success because you're expecting it to fail.
Absolutely.
So you're getting exactly out of it what you're anticipating.
100%. The more you fear something, the more likely it is to occur. Now that took me straight back to our previous podcast a little while ago. What you focus on is what you get.
Yes, 100%.
It's very similar, isn't it?
Oh, it's exactly the same, just with different wording.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's go a little bit deeper. So the rabbit hole's getting a bit dark and deep in there now.
Ooh.
A little bit deeper. So
Did I bring a flashlight?
you'll need one with lots of batteries. So there was a mathematician back in the mid 1800s, 1860s. His name was Augustus de Morgan, and he
You
wrote.
really did go down this rabbit hole, didn't you?
I did. I've been diving deep. So he wrote in June 1866. He penned the first experiment already illustrates a truth of the theory, well confirmed by practice. Whatever can happen will happen if we make trials enough.
Okay.
So what he is saying that the first time you do something shows that it can happen and it's true, and if you keep going, you will see everything that can happen with that experiment, which is good or bad.
Yep.
Now, there's theories that he actually, in what he said in 1866, is just been modified and maybe copied a little bit by Edward Murphy.
Modernised, I think
It's been modernised.
It's been modernised, which, that's what we do. We as humans, we take a great concept that is proven to work and we bring it into the present.
Yeah.
And sometimes we change language, sometimes we update processes, sometimes we, we put pretty colours on it and call it something different, but essentially it always comes back from the origin. So this is the same with, I guess, the topic of you get what you expect.
Mm. You do. What you focus on is what you get. So let's go deeper again. And because we love going now, we're deep diving. And we don't normally do this in our podcast. We sort of stay near the surface, but now we're going deep, like deep undercover. So let's go again. This now I want to infuse our coaching perspective into what we've just talked about. And so the last line that Augustus de Morgan said, he says, whatever can happen will happen if we make trials enough. So, for me, in my perspective and how I like to see it, I've interpreted part of that is so whatever you can do will occur, capital letters can and will, whatever you can do will occur, which means the sky is the limit because whatever you can do and whatever you achieve will happen. It depends on how far you want to go.
Yeah, that gets right back to whether you think you can or you can't. You're right.
Yeah. Which also, every positive has a negative. Whatever you cannot also will occur.
True.
So if you sit there and do nothing, or you decide to take no action, or you decide to just let things pass, that also will happen. So for this first law, Murphy's law, moving down and going deep, deep, deep down to Augustus de Morgan all the way. For me, it's a simplicity of take action, be bold, and get it done.
Absolutely. And I think that it's also more than that. It is so much more than that, because how often, and we've touched on this before, I do understand that, how often do we get stuck in a cycle of going, oh, it's happened again. Why does this keep happening to me?
Yeah,
Because obviously you're walking down. There's a great like a Chinese metaphor that, well, this is how it was explained to me. There was if I can tell a little story, there was a guy who was walking down the street and he fell into a pothole, and he went, oh, that's random. Gets out of the pothole, goes on his merry way. But this kept happening to him for a few weeks. And he was talking to his Chinese master, and the master said, well, what do you expect? You're doing exactly the same thing. The object of the parable was choose a different path.
Yeah.
Because if you keep choosing the same path, you're not changing the outcomes, the predetermined steps that you decide to keep taking, because you're not willing to digress or divulge or learn or sidestep to change the outcome.
Yeah, yeah. Quite often people say, and I've heard it a lot, this always happens to me. That's very common.
They do.
Or, oh, not again. And you hear that.
Very, very common.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a part of recognising why is this happening and change your strategy, change it up a little bit and see if you get a different result. Because as you change something, something will change.
And I think, again, it's so much more than that, because even if you've changed one or two things and you're still getting the same result, what are you missing that you have to address to then get a better result? Because we are great at staying in the comfort zone. So if you're changing your strategies but it doesn't take you outside the comfort zone, of course, the working within the boundaries of the comfort zone is going to elicit exactly the same response, regardless of the small strategies you change.
100%. I love it. Okay, we're going to move on. We'll do the next one. This one's going to resonate well with you, and you'll know why when I move into it. I know it will. This one's called Kidlin's Law. Kidlin apostrophe S. Kidlin's Law. Okay, so Kidlin's Law says, and it's a problem-solving theory. It says if you write the problem down clearly, then the matter is half solved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
I love this. I love this. So I have been, if I can just do a little share, when I'm learning myself, if I'm in a group or, I'm working with my mentor, I always write things down. Like I know you and I have been in the same room, and I write copious amounts.
Yeah.
The reason for that is because when I write it, I take it in, because it is a neurological learning habit to physically write something. But also when you write it and reread your words out loud, you hear your thoughts and they hit differently.
Absolutely.
So therefore, when you write it down, and you can't dodge what you've written down. Because if it's not what do we do when we were a kid writing essays in school? You'd write out your sentence and you'd go back and you'd proofread your essay, and then you'd go, oh, that's not what I wanted to say, and you scribble it out and you rewrite it.
Absolutely. We've done a lot of study in the last couple of months. We've attended copious amount of courses, and we've done lots of stuff to better ourselves and improve ourselves and gain further knowledge and skills and education. So, and we've written notes, copious amounts of notes. And I think I've turned around to you a few times and said, how many pages have you written so far? And like in a day, we've done 30 pages plus 35, 40 pages of not foolscap, I'm old fashioned.
Or 2 books.
We've done pages and pages of stuff, which is extraordinary. And then in talking later on, and we still do it now, we bring up something that we've written down in our notes, and either you or I has said, look at you go, because we've remembered something from what we've written down. We've applied it to something we're doing in business or something we're going to move into, and it just comes back because we've written it down. And where we've had a problem in our business or something we've needed to sort out. One of us has come up with a solution with what we've learned. And how many times have you or I said, look at you go, with recalling something that's going to help us solve a problem?
100%. It gets back to the be, do, teach principle.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to expand that for the people?
I look at it a little bit differently. I look at it more from an internal perspective. So be, do, teach. So to be is a learning. So you're taking in the information. The do is the application or the action. And the teach is to reinforce the learning and the action. Yeah. You then share it with somebody else.
Yeah.
Which you and I are amazing in terms of we do that all the time. I love our conversations because I learn so many new things every day from you, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, vice versa. Thank you. It's true though, and when you surround yourself with people that have got common goals and common visions, that expands very quickly when you learn from somebody else, and it's what they say, it's like not reinventing the wheel. You model from them, and you take their advice and feedback, and you adapt it and make it your own and go with that quickly.
And one thing I love about that is you take those same principles, and it gets back to asking people how their day was and what what are they loving and what are they learning, because asking specific questions around that style of be, do, teach helps us help other people to lift their game and to reinforce their learning and their perspective, and gives them the platform to share something beautiful and new with us. Even if we've heard it before, it might be put in a way that lands differently.
Yeah.
So I'd love to encourage people, because Christmas is the time of year where you get together with people you haven't seen for a while. I don't know why. We just seem to make a bit more of a concerted effort to just be around people. Rather than the response being, I know, you may not know, but how many times do we hear people go, oh, I know. Rather than say, I know, go, that's interesting. Tell me more.
Yeah. How
did you come up with that? Get more curious around it, because you may be playing on the surface. And I'd like to encourage your own learning is to get more curious, because the conversations that you have around the be, do, teach model lead you down rabbit holes like you've just been doing yourself with this amazing podcast topic.
Yeah, curiosity. And it's funny, we loop back to what we've talked about previously in everything we do, which is, I love that. And what you just said leads us back to one of our previous podcasts. Curiosity opens doors.
Oh, 100% it does.
Yeah, it does.
And I know that you are, disclaimer, Dave and I think very similar. So it's always interesting it's always interesting who can get out the best questions first to the people that we meet. But we love talking to you, meeting you, finding out all about you. We love when we get the opportunity to give you the spotlight and go, tell me something great. Because every single human being, regardless of your race, religion, where you grew up, what your experience was, whether it be, however you view it, you have got something beautiful that you can share with us and that you can share with the world around you. You're here for a very specific reason. You are the star in your own story, and never forget how special you are.
Sure, and I totally agree with you. That's very well said. Very well said. Okay, so if you write the problem down clearly, then the matter is half solved, and this is because it's in the structure and then making a strategy to clearly create a solution as part of creating solutions in doing that. So what comes up in you, and I'd like you to explain to those that have never done this before, and I think it is one of the best things I've ever done in the last 5 years, is, as we do, write things down, write the problem down, and then the matter is half solved. What is your take on having a vision board?
Oh, interesting. I have taken and leave. I could take and leave them in terms of, we all go through waxes and wanes. However, in saying that, what I've noticed is when my vision boards that I've done previously, they haven't been on point with my passion and my direction and my purpose, I don't resonate with what I put on there, and so I ignore them.
Yep.
The ones that I really sit with and they are directed at the purpose of why I believe that I'm here and my mission in life, what goes on that board hits really differently. It's not the material things, it's the intangible gains that come from taking steps towards those learning, those opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah. There are so many different ways to create and work with vision boards. And I sort of feel the same as you. When I was shown and taught years ago about vision boards, and for those that don't know what a vision board is, it's a board like a whiteboard or a cork board or whatever you want to do, and you put up on the board things that can remind you and prompt you to reach a goal or a standard or get to a certain level in something. So some people write things down, some people put up newspaper clippings or photographs or things like that to spur them on to create and achieve. For me, some of that doesn't work for me, but in my vision board, what I do have, and I use a whiteboard, I write down very shortly prompts in words like goals or things I need to achieve right now, and things that have just become ideas that I have not worked on or have not realised or done anything with. But I do things, how do I put it? It's almost like doodling. And if you looked at my notes in the last couple of courses we did, I draw arrows and I colour them in and I do little shapes and squiggles and those things on my vision board also prompt me to do something. And as soon as it's done, it's gone. I erase it and it goes away. But it's more, for me, it's more like a very large motivational planner, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. And
Yeah.
when doing vision boards that work really well for me, it's not only a picture, and you're the same. It's symbols, it's pictures, it's words,
Yep.
so that you're really covering your auditory, your kinesthetic, your AD side of things
Yep.
with your structure.
Yep.
You've got to have it all in there so that it appeals to every part of the senses that we gather data from. But more importantly, the Wheel of Life is a tool that we use with clients around helping people find balance and helping you look at where you'd like to improve in those areas.
Yeah.
The Wheel of Life needs to be included in your vision board. So you have the sections in there, like your physical health, your relationships, your spiritual health, your career, your family, your wealth, your fun side. Please don't forget the fun side, because the fun side is what makes it all worth it.
Yeah,
So the fun side is actually how you tap into achieving all the parts on your vision board.
Yeah.
Because if you're not having fun, you're not going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
And if you're not having fun, you're not going to uptake the information quite as much.
fun is a priority. It's so important it's anything in life, not just in work, but in a relationship or anything you do. You must have the fun in it. Otherwise, you won't get going. You have to have fun doing it.
Absolutely. My theory around why fun is important, because it gives you a laugh, it connects you. And this might sound a little bit airy-fairy for some of our listeners. However, fun, when you're laughing, elevates your energy levels. And we as humans, we are an energy-centric being, which is why we can communicate with our cats and dogs without saying words. And fun helps you elevate into a higher level of energy, which then helps you learn more, attract more, enjoy more, and head in the direction that's really more towards your purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really deep, isn't it? That's really deep. Unapologetically real we are.
This is deep. It's really rabbit hole stuff, but I love this.
Strap on that scuba tank.
It's really
we have
good.
not finished yet.
Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah, let me.
Okay.
Great topics. I'm loving this. I hope our listeners are really loving our explanation of this as well.
Thanks, LJ. Okay, next one. This one is called Gilbert's Law, and it was by a guy called Gilbert Lafayette Laws. His surname was Laws. And he died in 1907. So he was on the planet from 1838 to 1907. And he served as the Nebraska Secretary of State, American, in the U.S. House of Representatives during the 1800s. And his statement was twofold. So the first part of what he says is, when you take on a task, it is your responsibility to find the best ways to achieve the desired result. That's the first part.
Mm-hmm.
The second part of what he says in Gilbert's Law is, the biggest problem with a job is that no one tells you what to do. So what I love about this is, so many people, and it could be in a workplace, it could be actually in a relationship, it could be in a sporting endeavour. When you take on a task, it is, underline, your responsibility to find the best ways to achieve the desired result. So many people, and I know today is a different era to the 1800s, but I think it's relevant. So many people today sit back and do nothing. They sit on their hands and go, but no one told me what to do. I just sat here and waited. There's no initiative. They're not taking the bull by the horns. They're not standing up and stepping up and showing up. They're sitting back waiting for someone to grab them by the hand and go, all right, come with me. This is how you do this, instead of getting up and making it your responsibility to find the best way to achieve the desired result.
This is such above the line and below the line thinking,
huge.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. So it all depends on, the outcome is dependent on you. The goal and the desired result is dependent on you. And the great thing about it, which I looked a bit further into it, then I put our coaching methodology into it, is when you add to that, you can use external resources to achieve your desired result. You don't have to stand there and go, okay, what do I do here? You can ask people. You can research today on the internet. You can read books. You can buy tools and equipment to get the job done and get what you need. There's so many options here of what you can use as resources to get your desired result. You can take advice or feedback from people and act on that. But at the end of the day, the responsibility is yours and yours alone to find the best way to get your goal. What do you think about that? Yeah.
Modelling. So above and below the line thinking, as I already said, comes to mind, but also modelling. Yeah. Modelling the people that are ahead of you, that are at the level that you're wanting to achieve. Think back to when you're a kid and you're playing sports. You would have had a poster on your wall of somebody that you really went, I want to be that. I want to play like them. For basketball players, it might have been Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Muhammad Ali. If you're a boxer, that one's for you, Dave.
Thanks.
For me, in the equestrian world and the motor racing world, like, Peter Brock, Craig Lowndes, the people that you look up to who are doing what you want to do, they leave a blueprint. There's a saying that success leaves a blueprint, and people are quite willing to tell you what it takes to get there if you really and truly want to get there. Yeah. The difference being, are you prepared to put the work in? Because none of those people who operate at a high performance level, and we know this because we have, beautiful clients that we work with at these levels, they never say, oh, I just thought about it and it happened. They tell you the iceberg principle. What you see as their success on the top with all the accolades, you don't see the 70% of the iceberg, which was the effort, the heartbreak, the setbacks, the grit, the determination, the passion, the hours, you don't see that part. Everybody just clings on to them thinking that they've, it was just luck or sheer talent. They are the first to tell you. Kobe Bryant too. I mean, he's the first to say, if training started at 5 a.m, he was there at 3 because he wanted to make sure that he was 100% on point by the time training started. Yeah. And we all know, went through playing sports or turning up at the workplace, let's use a workplace, for example. Are you somebody who rocks in 5 minutes before you're due to actually be switched on?
Yeah.
Or are you someone who actually says, it's I like to get there 20 minutes early. When I was travelling to Melbourne, I was actually there an hour to an hour and a half early because of traffic. But in that time, I set myself up for success so much because I had an hour and a half in my office space to set my day, do an hour and a half's worth of work before anybody else had got in there, because that's what it took for me to perform at that level.
Yeah. Yeah.
That getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be in the city at that time to make sure that I was fully functioning and fully present for the people that relied on me was important to me, that I put myself into an uncomfortable position because I knew what it meant in the end range. And regardless of whether it's your job, your relationship, your workplace, your financial health, your physical, mental and spiritual health, what are you prepared to do every single day in consistency that will make the difference to your outcome?
Yeah, 100%. I like that. I like how Gilbert's law says it is your responsibility to find the best way to achieve the desired result. And you've shown how you've done that by leaving home early, getting to work early. You've made it your responsibility to make sure that everything is set in place leading up to what is going to be a pretty busy day for you. But there's no last minute. And I've seen guys at their last minute people, they just rush and rush and rush, and then they're in the wrong space before their day starts, and then it compounds and gets worse. And yeah, I've seen that quite a bit with this one here with Gilbert's law, and I'm sure you would have seen it too, LJ. There's one question I ask a lot when I coach clients, and so many people need to unpack something in their life that's not working or it's not happening for them right now. And one question I've asked for many, many years is, what are you going to do about it? And the reason I ask that is not me not knowing a lot about Gilbert's law back then, was I'm trying to get people to understand that it is their responsibility for them to find the best ways to achieve their desired result. So what are you going to do about it? And it's a bit of a break state. So many people have sat back and said, well, I don't know, because they think the problem doesn't lie with them. They have the power to solve the problem, whatever the problem is. They have the power to access resources in any way, shape or form. They have the power, and it should be their responsibility to find the best way to solve this problem. And when you flip it around and say to people, what are you going to do about it? What have you done about it? Or thinking forward, if the problem has to be solved, how are you going to solve it? It takes a lot of the other people out of the problem and puts the responsibility back on the individual, back on that one person. And suddenly they're off and running again, because they create strategy, they create change, they look at something they haven't thought about before, because this all ties in with Gilbert's law.
Yeah, and responsibility and accountability are two slightly different things.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that you and I, we've had these conversations before with ourselves and other coaches, and even just other people in society that have got nothing to do with coaching. We've all noticed that regardless of where you come from, accountability in the modern age is unfortunately sadly lacking. We offset our accountability. I'm not sure why we do that. So if I can share my definitions of accountability versus responsibility, is that okay? Because I think that will also help. So most of the time I ask clients that I work with, I go, can you give me the definition of responsibility? And can you give me the definition of what accountability means to you? Because there's always a little bit of a gap. So let me ask you those questions, Dave. What's responsibility and accountability to you?
To me?
Mm-hmm.
Responsibility to me is making sure a task is done, however it's done. The accountability is at the end result, after it's finished, the success or the failure of it, and taking ownership of how it worked or didn't work, and what am I going to do about it if it didn't, and if it did work, how do I use best practice to make sure it continues, you put the right people in place. There's a difference of, I was going to use a shop as an example, but responsibility ends and accountability can start at the end of that. I can have responsibility for a project and no accountability. I can make sure it's completed on time, or it's sorted out, and then after that, the accountability of the project can start at the end of it. It can start towards the end of it. They're so different, and I'm sure you've got a much better definition than what I've got.
I was going to say, I love being able to throw you back into the deep end. That's
Thanks
great.
for that. I love it. It's great.
In a nutshell, if I can shed, then this is purely my perspective of how I view it. So, but I think it'll resonate with people. Responsibility is something that is given. Accountability is something that is owned. So if
Nice.
in a workplace, for example, when you have KPIs, job role tasks, that is your responsibility, because that is the expectation that I am giving you to do your job to collect your paycheck. The accountability for that is you meeting your KPIs through your actions, through you doing the job to the best of the ability, and for you showing up more so in a truer form than what is expected. That is the accountability. So because you
Nice.
take ownership of that.
Nice. That's a good one.
So I hope that helps, because unfortunately as I said, how many times do you hear, oh, it's not my fault.
A lot.
They didn't set me up. I didn't know this, exactly what you're saying. How was I supposed to know? Well, ask questions. So this is a really, really deep conversation today. Essentially, the few laws that you've brought up, they are essentially saying the same kind of thing, just spoken from a different perspective of the people that the laws have been written, which I really love, because you may not resonate with Murphy's Law, but you might resonate with, what's the other law? With the Gilbert Law.
Gilbert's Law. Yeah. Kidlin's Law. Yeah,
Kidlin's Law. So,
they all come to the same point pretty much, and you've
They
identified
do.
that early, which is great.
They do, but I guess part of the reasons that I love what you do and the research in the background is, one, because I'm a big research geek, but I love that you've taken this on as bringing so much value to our listeners, which is great.
Oh,
That
thanks.
we have the sorry, I have a big pause there. I really mean that, because this is such a beautiful way to help and watch you evolve and grow and learn, and I really value that you bring that to the table. And I essentially, each of us knows what we bring to the table. And if we're sitting at the wrong table, because say for example, you love pasta, but you don't like spicy food, you're not going to park yourself at a table that only serves spicy food, are you?
Yeah.
Unless you want to learn how to love spicy food, or you want to learn how to enjoy it without melting your mouth, sort of thing. So all of the laws that we're talking about today really are representing of the fact that we need to take responsibility and accountability for our part in this journey and the experiences that we have, because if you're not having the experience you want, work out how to have a better one.
100%.
That's a bit of tough love, isn't it?
That's just tough love. And we haven't finished yet. Are you ready for the next one?
Oh, yeah.
We've got two to go.
Okay.
Okay, so next one, and we're still diving, we're still going down, deeper and down. That was
God, submarine level. Let's go.
Status quo in the 1970s, down, deeper and down. You would have remembered that.
I've heard of that song.
I know. Okay, so the next one, Wilson's Law. Wilson's Law is a little bit different, but it all ties in with what we've been talking about. Wilson's Law. If you prioritise knowledge and intelligence, money will continue to come.
100%.
100%. Absolutely 100%. And the reason I say that is, what is one of the secrets of millionaires, successful people in all walks of life? And that is, they always keep educating themselves. They never stop. They become a lifelong learner, and they always improve themselves through education and knowledge.
Yeah, because we can always learn something. And it gets back to what we said earlier, that we take ideas and concepts and we bring them into the modern age for how we learn and how we can apply it and how we can take responsibility and accountability to lift ourselves to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
That's a really simple explanation, but I think that's as deep as it probably needs to go with everything else we've talked about.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, well, since we're going deep with everything, let's go a little bit deeper with this one as well. So just a little bit. A little
Okay,
bit. So,
twist my arm.
okay, here we go. So my dear father, when he was still on this planet, he said to me many, many, many years ago when I was fairly young, and I've said this, I've told you this story. He said to me many years ago, if you know a little about a lot of things, you can talk to anyone. If you
It gets
know,
back to that parable of Jack of all trades, master of none.
yeah. So he said, read everything and watch things, absorb things that you see around you, learn from others, invest in yourself, invest in capital letters, invest in yourself by attending courses and studies, increase your skill levels in your chosen field. So in doing that, I used to sit at doctor's surgeries and read the 5-year-old Woman's Weekly magazine and absorb trivia stuff, and I'd read the Fin Review, and I'd read newspapers, and I'd look at media on the computer and just absorb things. And the reason that I find this is really relevant, especially in Wilson's law, if you prioritise knowledge and intelligence, money will continue to come. This in turn, if you do what my dear father got me to do, it enables me to talk to people, and I mean nearly anybody. And in doing that, we create networks, we create working partnerships. For me, this is like an equation: increasing our knowledge and learning a little bit about a lot of things. It opens doors.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. Curiosity, and again, it just links back to all the topics that we've talked about in other episodes around getting curious, being willing to learn, being open to new opportunities and experiences from lots of different walks of life.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very true. And that's
your dad was a wise man.
He was a wise man, and he was, and that one stuck with me and resonated with me. It has all my life. It's an amazing one, and that alone, it has helped me create networks and meet people and get to where I am right now, and also how we met and how we created what we've got here is through a lot of what my dear father taught me. So which is great. We've got one more to go.
Okay, let's go.
This is interesting. This one. This is called Falkland's Law, Falkland'', if you want to look it up on the net for all those people afterwards. Falkland's Law.
Okay.
I sat down and thought about this for a little while. I thought about it for a bit before I decided to put it into the podcast, and thought, yeah, it actually is very relevant, and it didn't sit well with me at the beginning, but then I worked around it and I figured it out. It is simply this: if you don't have to make a decision, don't make a decision. So from there,
is that not making a decision? To not make a decision?
No. So this is where, and I know you'd be thinking the same as me. I sat with this for a while. If you don't have to make a decision, don't make a decision. In brackets, save that brain space for something more important.
Okay.
So this is Falkland's Law reminds us that not every choice requires our immediate attention. By abstaining from unnecessary decisions, we create space within ourselves to focus on what truly matters at this time. So we direct our energy towards the decisions that need deciding on right now that shape our lives. So we need to learn to discern between the trivial and the essential.
Yeah, that's a really great perspective.
Yeah.
Really great perspective. Because sometimes we get caught up in, and overthinkers are great at this. So if you're an overthinker, we hear you, we feel you, because you're so open to exploring all opportunities before they've happened that it becomes challenging for you to see a way forward.
Yeah.
And then I think it also gets back to the practicing the pause.
Yeah.
because often, and we hear this with meditation teachers and I guess spiritual gurus, that there's a lot of answers in the silence. So if you're not making a decision and you're just being open to the right opportunities to sort of come your way through taking a step back and just allowing yourself to not be under stress and pressure, often the path will show itself.
Yeah, 100%. That ties in with no response is actually a response.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I love these topics,
This is
Dave.
really cool. So Falkland's Law, so if you don't have to make a decision, don't make a decision. Just for the record, I have not discussed this with you this morning. I haven't talked about any of this at all. And
You've thrown me in the deep end.
And
Scuba tanks and all.
And the great thing about it is you've just brought up point number one, which is I just like the way we think in sync here, because I was about to say this is a good one to remember for number one, overthinkers. So you've just hit the ball out of the park with that. That's awesome. And it's true, because years and years ago I used to be a driving instructor and a motorbike instructor, and I used to work with guys in that space. And I had a student. He was an adult who needed to get his license. I had a student, and he was the penultimate overthinker. And we would be driving along, and he would make decisions that didn't need to be made at that time because he was overthinking. And he would talk to himself in the car while I'm sitting next to him. So he would say, if I jump into the middle lane, then I don't have to worry about the car in the left-hand lane. But then there's a motorbike in the third lane. I might stay in the left-hand lane. Actually, and he's making decisions that just drive, just go straight ahead. You're doing okay. You've got cars in front of you doing the speed limit. There's no one impeding you. You're not being held back. You've got plenty of space. You're doing really well. If the lights go right up ahead, I might have to get into the centre lane and not sit. And by the time he decided to do something, he'd do something which didn't need to be done, but he was overthinking so much. And we worked on that, and we got him to just reduce the overthinking, because he was making decisions driving the car where it was taking away his ability to drive the car.
Yeah, it's such a scramble of energy too.
Yeah.
Like it sounds funny. I have a really good friend who believes, like, they're not a person. They look after themselves, but they don't believe in going to the gym, because he goes, we might only be given so many heartbeats. Why would I waste them running on the treadmill? And I really appreciate that perspective. And what you've just talked about is overusing the energy that we have in areas that are non-productive, because they're not going to give you an outcome. And perfectionism is actually the same thing as well. It's just the flip side of overthinking.
Yeah. It is. It's 100%. So there were two things that I thought about, and you hit the first one out of the park, home run, and the crowd's gone wild, was overthinkers.
Show me the gap. Show me my gap.
The second one, and this is one I thought about, and this is why it didn't sit with me when I first looked at Falkland's Law, and I thought, and the second one was procrastinators. So if you don't have to make a decision, don't make a decision. This would be a procrastinator's party. Be like, okay, then I won't make a decision. But I'll think again. Don't use this for those that procrastinate. And I, in my life at times, have been a procrastinator. I've sat on my hands and I thought,
haven't we all?
I'll just do it later, and I'll get around to it, blah, blah, blah. You do not use this as a cop-out. This is not what it's all about. This is about taking action when it is time to take action. It's not about just sitting back and going, oh, well, I'm not going to make a decision here. That's just being lazy.
Yeah. And again, procrastination and perfectionism, they are the flip sides of overthinking, because it's like the inability to make a decision. So one is you're so busy looking at all decisions. The other one is you refuse to make any decision. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So at the end of the day, if you're stuck in either side of the coin, which we feel your pain, and it's human nature, it is very human nature to have periods of where we go through both sides of the coin. But the ingredient that you're missing for your cake is action.
Yeah.
Actually, not just anticipation of what could or could not happen, but it's the action behind making something happen. because until you make something happen, you can't evaluate it.
100%. And it's up to the individual to make it happen and get it going.
Yes, it is.
So we've done 5 of our
Wow,
laws.
that was a great podcast.
We did 5.
Thank you.
You are
Thank
so
you for the
welcome.
scuba lesson.
We did Murphy's Law, Kidlin's Law. We did Wilson's Law. We did Gilbert's Law.
Gilbert's Law.
And Falkland's Law. So for those that want to delve and dive, you can find a lot more information on the web if you want to really get into it and look at the history behind it all. But I just thought, LJ, it was great for us to unpack it a little bit and just talk about different ways that can get us to stand up, step forward, step up, take action, be above the line, and get some stuff done. Because when you get it done, you see the results, and then what do? You celebrate.
Absolutely. And this is perfect for coming in towards the end of the year and looking at everything that you're reflecting on this year that you might want to change and that you might want to improve going into the next 12 months. Yeah. Or actually not even the next 12 months, the next day. The next day. Yeah. So have an amazing time exploring and going down the rabbit hole. Thank you so much for allowing us to deep dive with you today. And we know that it's going to add immense value to your world should you allow yourself to go there with us.
100%. And LJ, where can you find us on our website? It is
coachtalk.com.au, and we are on all the major platforms. So we look forward to hearing back from you. And I would love to talk to you next time about our Walk the Talk challenge.
That sounds great. Walk the talk it will be. Talk about that. And please, if you like, jump on the website, email us, give us your feedback. Love to hear from you. And LJ, I will talk to you next time.
Take care. Thank you so much, everyone.
Catch you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.